We are just days away from the release of Dominaria United, also known as Return to Dominaria. Well, actually, it's more like Return to Dominaria. It depends on which sets you're gonna count. It's about maybe the 30th trip we've taken to Dominaria in a new Magic Gathering set, but only the second time since 2007. That's right, we're back to Magic's most classic plane, and just like last time, this set brings with it a whole host of legendary creatures vying to be your next commander. 41 to be exact! 41 legendary creatures. Don't you just love Dominaria sets during the era of Commander? With 41 new potential legends to pick to lead your next Commander deck, how do you possibly decide which to build first? Not to worry, I've got you covered. I've put together here a list of my top 5 choices for Commanders from Dominaria United. And best of all, you don't need to crack packs in order to get those commanders. You just need to choose which ones of those 40 you want. These are, of course, my picks, but what most matters is your own. Say it with me now, buy singles. But first, thanks for watching. This ad, Do you like plugging your ears just to fill them with experiencing a sensation of vibrations that can give you +2/+2 and flying? Aside from that last part, I can provide you with an offer worth considering. Raycon's everyday wireless, affordable, comfortable, stable, conveniently at arm's reach earbuds. English professor! By now, you'd think you'd buy a pair of Raycon wireless earbuds. I've only been talking about them for their sound quality, price, and longevity for, well, over a year now. We're great buds, Raycon and I. They'd never let me down during their 32-hour battery life, and with me being able to continuously play my tunes for 8 hours straight, you betcha these good buds of mine have optimized gel tips that mold the sound in your ear like Michelangelo to a stone. Michelangelo did the stone ones, and English major. These guys really know how to make an efficiently sized earbud. The intelligent design had been specifically modified to fit with all different sized ears. And you know Prof. Dizzle likes his bass, so he sets it boosted for sick beats and slick walk-ups and down the line. When I'm two-steppin' and my family needs me to cool it, the stereo sound and passive noise isolation gets me back to a regulated temperature. When shopping and comparing Raycon to the next leading wireless earbuds, it's a no-brainer why you should consider Raycon. The price by itself is worth looking at, but with this offer available to you here, right now, you can get an extra 15% off your order. Feeling a little unsure? Let me convince you further. Have you ever seen 50,000 5-star reviews? It's a sight truly worth seeing. Only at buyraycon.com/Tolarian community, where you also get that 15% off your order, or just follow the link in this video's description. And that's why one of the best places to start with wireless earbud technology is with the quality that is offered with Raycon's everyday earbuds. Thank you, Raycon, for sponsoring this video. Because the pool of options is so wide, the legends I selected aren't just the top 5 most powerful legendary creatures in this set. Rather, these are the 5 most powerful legends that bring something fresh or exciting to their color identity. So while a card like Joda, Ageless Innovator, certainly looks strong, and it is, as an Is-It artifact general, it is not exactly revolutionizing. At least not in terms of the repertoire of existing Is-It decks. It's not even clear to me she's a better choice to lead your Is-It artifact deck than the Joda we got last time we went to Dominaria. You know, the one that looks like Tappy Toe Claws? Wait a minute, they all look like Tappy Toe Claws. So we're talking innovation in our top 5, and with that out of the way, let's jump right in. First up is Soul of Windgrace. For 1 generic and 1 of each Jund mana, you get a 5/4 cat avatar with a collection of land-related abilities. Whenever Soul of Windgrace enters the battlefield or attacks, you may put a land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. You may also discard a land and pay for mana to activate 1 of 3 abilities. For 1 green mana, you gain 3 life. For 1 generic and 1 red mana, you draw a card. And for 2 generic and a black mana, you give Windgrace indestructible until end of turn, and he becomes tapped. And yes, I know what I just said about the new Joda. I know we already have a Jund Lands Matter commander in the last Windgrace card we received in Commander 18. But just follow me here for a minute, alright? First of all, there really aren't that many options for Jund Land commanders. You have Lord Windgrace, and you have, I guess, Korvold? You sort of have to squint to see Korvold as a lands commander. Soul of Windgrace provides lovers of Jund and lands a new option for how to build a deck in those colors with that theme. Soul of Windgrace doesn't just ask you to build a landfall deck. His triggered ability wants lands in your graveyard, and while you can do that via his activated ability, he also rewards you for including ways to put lands from your battlefield into your own graveyard. Fetch lands, like Myriad Landscape, are an easy inclusion. Sacrifice a fetch land, then attack to put the fetch land back into play. But how about other lands that sacrifice themselves, such as Blast Zone, Strip Mine, and Command Beacon? There's also permanents that sacrifice lands as part of the cost to activate their abilities. Sylvan Safekeeper, Elvish Reclaimer, and Zurin Orb. And if you want to keep yourself safe from combat damage while still attacking your opponents for 5 commander damage, how about Glacial Chasm and Constant Mists? Soul of Windgrace's assortment of activated abilities provides you with all the support you need to keep up your land sacrifice shenanigans. The green ability is useful for keeping your life total at a nice and safe range. It also means you can include some life gain synergy into your deck if you'd like, made even more viable by cards like Zurin Orb and Dark Heart of the Wood. The red ability keeps your hand stocked with fresh cards from the top of your deck. The black ability is perhaps the most important. Soul of Windgrace is able to protect himself from removal spells, meaning it will be difficult for your opponents to interfere with your game plan. Number 4 on the list is Raph, Weatherlight Stalwart. Raph is a 1/3 legendary human wizard for 1 white and 1 blue mana. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control to draw a card. Raph also has an activated ability. For 3 generic and 2 white mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn. Raph is a sweet one. At 2 mana, you can deploy him early and recast him from the command zone if he gets countered or otherwise removed without too much difficulty. He also provides Azurius players with an interesting deck building challenge. His ability triggers off instants and sorceries, but you need creatures in play in order to get something out of the trigger. His activated ability is a mana sink, which means you're rewarded for generating a lot of mana. But the usual ways of generating mana in Azurius colors, namely artifacts, do not trigger his ability. The solution? Token makers. Fill your Raph deck with Monastery Mentor and Tolarian, Sky Summoner type cards. Each spell you cast will create creature tokens that can immediately tap to Raph's ability if you've stacked your triggers right. Honestly, it's kind of a blessing that Raph doesn't specifically reward you for playing artifacts, since both of his abilities work so well with the dreaded Isochron Scepter, plus Dramatic Reversal combo. If you have Isochron Scepter imprinted with Dramatic Reversal, 2 mana worth of mana rocks, and at least 1 other creature in play, then you can draw your whole deck with Raph's first ability, tapping Raph and your other creature each time you activate Isochron Scepter, then untapping all your non-land permanents to do it again. And if you have just 1 extra white mana available to you from Mana Rock, you also generate infinite mana to activate Raph's pump ability infinite times. If Raph wasn't specifically pushing you towards spells and creatures, the card would be obscene. As it is, setting up the Scepter Reversal combo takes you off your primary game plan, so it comes with an actual cost. If you are a fan of combo finishes in Commander, that cost may still be worth it to you. But for those who just want a sweet value commander without going infinite, Raph has you covered. Even without the combo finish, Raph still brings a whole lot of value for a single card. He's also one of the few Azurius commanders we've seen that specifically encourages a tokens matter strategy, and the new direction for the color pair is a welcome one. If triggering Monastery Mentor is your happy place, then Raph, Weatherlight Stalwart, should be your next commander. Number 3 on our list is an unassuming little rascal who can get out of hand really, really fast. Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief, who is a 2/1 flying fairy rogue for 1 green and 1 blue mana. Whenever any player casts a single target spell that targets another creature, you may copy that spell and have it target Ivy. At just 2 mana, Ivy is similar to Raph in that you can get her out early and recast her with ease if she winds up back in your command zone. Her ability rewards a sort of spell-slinging, heroic, or Bogles style of play, targeting your own creatures with spells to generate value. And that in itself is strong. Your cantripping spells now draw twice as many cards as they otherwise would. Where Ivy really starts to get out of control, however, is when you start copying her. Cards like Spark Double and the new Vesuvian Duplimancy from Dominaria United allow you to put additional copies of Ivy onto the battlefield despite her legendary type line. Now the spells you target your own creatures with will expand exponentially, creating a massive board of flying fairy rogues with all sorts of augmentations. If you want to go another route, you can also build Ivy as a Mutate commander. Remember Mutate, the mechanic from Ikoria? Remember Ikoria? One of the major downsides of Mutate as a mechanic is you're going all in on a single creature. You don't get to create a wide board, and thus a single removal spell sends you back to square one. Ivy mitigates that issue to some extent. Her ability means when you mutate onto another creature, you also mutate onto Ivy. This gives you twice the mutate triggers, and thus a second stack of non-humans in a trench coat for your battlefield. And if you've combined the clone theme with the mutate theme, oh boy! Your board will be full of towering abominations of mutated creatures, each stacked atop a tiny, cackling fairy trickster. Keep in mind, Ivy also triggers when your opponents cast spells that target another creature too. However, her ability is a May ability, so if another creature gets hit with a Doomblade, you aren't forced to copy that Doomblade and kill your own commander. So who do I feel are the top 2 commanders from Dominaria United who bring new things to their color combinations? Well, the number 2 commander from Dominaria United is Maria, Scholar of Antiquity. Maria is a 3/3 elf artificer for 1 generic, 1 red, and 1 green mana. Maria says tap an untapped non-token artifact you control, add green, and tap 2 untapped non-token artifacts you control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Now wait a minute, where have I seen that before? It was from Magic's greatest villain ever, Urza! So yes, Maria's ability isn't quite as good as Urza's, but even only turning your non-token artifacts into Mox Emeralds is still an incredibly powerful ability. And the fact that Maria also brings with her an ability that generates card advantage? Holy mackerel, or holy Urza, holy something. A Gruul artifact commander is not something we've seen a whole lot of up to this point, so it's cool to see WotC design a commander for that archetype in Gruul colors. As for what to do with Maria, well, pretty much the full range of artifact nonsense is available to you. You can pair her with Unwinding Clock and Seedborn Muse to generate mana on each player's turn. You can use her as a stacks card along with something like Winter Orb to hamper your opponent's mana without affecting your own that much. Pair her with another mana generator like Bergi, God of Storytelling, and artifact untappers like Battered Golem, Traxos, Scourge of Trug, and Grinding Station to churn through your deck at a breakneck pace. Because of her non-token restriction and because the most broken enabler for the shenanigans she encourages is banned, by which I mean Paradox Engine, it's unlikely that you'll be able to pull off infinite combos with her, at least not very easily. But as a cheap commander that generates mana and draws you cards, she's absolutely worth your consideration to be your next general. I think by now you can probably guess which new legend tops my list for the best commanders from Dominaria United. No? No, it's not the merfolk. That's right, it's Joda, the Unifier. Joda is a 5/5 legendary human wizard that costs Wooburg. Joda has 2 abilities. First, he gives all your legendary creatures +X, where X equals the number of legendary creatures you control, and yes, that includes Joda himself. Secondly, whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. In other words, he gives all your legendary spells Legend Cascade. Yeah. Joda is a staggeringly good card. It's common knowledge that 5-color commanders tend to be the strongest commanders available, since they grant you access to the entire commander legal card pool. Fans of the first sliver will know how good it is to give all your spells Cascade. The value that Joda provides is immense, and any player who untaps with him in play will see their board get out of hand very quickly. The legendary restriction isn't even that much of a restriction. We have no shortage of excellent legendary spells to include in a deck like this. Mox Amber is literally just a rainbow Mox in this deck. Captain Sisay, a popular commander for a Legends Matter deck in her own right, finds an easy spot in the 99 of your Joda deck as a way to tutor up whichever legend you need in a given moment. And her other printing from Modern Horizons 1, Sisay Weatherlight Captain, is even better, since Joda single-handedly brings her stat line up to a 9/9 between his pump ability and her own. Kethis, the Hidden Hand, provides you with graveyard recursion, although it's worth noting that the cards you cast from your graveyard won't trigger Joda's Cascade ability. Raph, Capuchin, Ship's Mage, allows you to do all this legendary nonsense at instant speed. I could go on here, but you get the idea. You will not have trouble finding cards to include in your Joda deck. In fact, the biggest challenge in building Joda will be figuring out how to keep your deck to just 99 cards. Once you have a board full of legendary creatures, you also have a very easy way to end the game. With all of your creatures getting buffed by Joda's first ability, it likely won't take too many more legends in play before you're able to take any player at the table out in a single swing. Woo! And there you have it, my top 5 commanders from Dominaria United. With so many to choose from, I undoubtedly left some of your favorites out. So now I want to hear from you. Which legendary creature from Dominaria United are you most excited to build a commander deck out of? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks again to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Remember, you can go to buyraycon.com/Tolarian community and get 15% off your order, or just follow the link in this video's description. And now, let me jam out by listening to some head-banging tunes from which these Raycons will stay in place. Yeah, they're still in there. How's that for a shake test?
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
Today, bring your favorite or one of your most favorite commander decks.
I have brought my dear beloved Grimgrin.
Brought the Mimeoplasm. And I brought Noyan Dawn.
And so I ask everyone to take their deck and please pass it to the right.
Of course.
I want, this deck to win, specifically because it's mine.
But how would you feel if I killed you with your deck?
What does my commander do?
He's getting a better draw than I've ever gotten out of that deck. What do you want me to do?
The thing is he's good at Magic, and that's usually not the case.
Oh, good. A land that comes into play untapped, unlike every other land in this deck.
I'm like a proud father watching his son take his first steps.
Lady Luck smiles upon a British man.
Yeah.
Don't meow.